Cannon Films, the home of high-powered, high-voltage motion picture entertainment. With the screen's biggest spectacles, brightest stars, and boldest lineup of explosive entertainment. We're taking motion picture excitement over the edge and your box office over the top. We're Cannon Films, and we're dynamite.
Hey yo, listen up, listen up, listen up. Gather round, we're about to throw a sunglasses kid party, alright? SK, I need you to pop that cassette tape in the boombox, let's go! First things first, 80s baby. Had to make a track about 80s ladies. Spandex, silk shirts, big perms, short skirts. First girl, hot BB, stop it. Full house, Lori Loughlin. Then Elizabeth Shue, Karate Kid 1, not Karate Kid 2. Y'all already know who used to drive me crazy. Can't go big like top-down Mercedes. Yo, I missed one, hold up, wait. Ain't nobody finer than Phoebe Cates. Kathy, Cindy, Brinkley too. I stay stuck like super glue. I love MC Light and Lisa Bonet, Michelle Pfeiffer and many the name. Yo!
Now the time flies by. You're big for tonight. The thing is just rewind for just a little while. Nothing's used to be, but you and me. You make me crazy. Ooh yeah, my name is baby.
This week we watched Dracula's Last Rites.
Which does not feature Dracula.
Well, it's not that simple, you know.
Well, it features Draculas.
It's not something you can explain just like that.
So this movie came out in 1980. I think this may be the first time in a long time that I've actually said the year the movie comes out. We've been living in a no man's land where time has no meaning. And it was directed by a guy named Dominic
Paris.
And this guy actually went on to do some more stuff after this movie. He went on to direct rip-offs of Pixar movies.
He directed, what are you talking about? He made beloved CGI films, which many children watched and I assume loved?
These are the kind of movies that like parents would buy off the shelf of Walmart, thinking that this is the film that their children want to watch.
I mean, having said though, I feel like Fly Me to the Moon 3D, his rip-off of Space Chimps, I feel like that played in some theaters.
Well, I think it may have even played in IMAX, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's just 3D, right? So,
and this is a film that has an all-star cast of people like Christopher Lloyd.
Yep, Tim Curry.
Adrienne Barbeau.
Ed Begley Jr.
And this is a cast that when you see those names, every 12-year-old on your block is going to want to see this movie.
It's true. When I was about 12, if I heard Adrienne Barbeau was going to be in a movie, I actually got up in the morning.
Is that the woman
to wait at the theater?
Is that the woman whose tits were out in that Swamp Thing movie? If you saw the red version. Okay, so let's talk about Last Rites. I keep want to say Last Rites of Dracula, which makes more sense instead of Dracula's Last Rites.
Different? That sounds like a different Dracula movie.
Sounds like a Hammer film.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, Last Rites of Dracula. Yeah, like it sounds like a movie that maybe actually be good.
But this movie, not that good.
Well, here's the thing. This movie is not very good, right? But in my opinion, it has the funniest vampire that I've probably ever seen. I mean, if you thought that Leslie Nielsen in Dracula Dead and Loving It was one of the funniest vampires you would ever see, you didn't expect the vampire you're gonna see, which we will get to, because I kind of want to go through this one in more or less order.
Let's do it, my man.
So this one starts with a couple about to do something that the girlfriend doesn't want to happen. Yeah. This takes a long time.
He's gonna put it in her butt. I'm sorry, everybody. That
just
was
like terrible. That Meatloaf song. I would do anything for love.
To put up your butt.
Yeah, no, but I won't do that. I guess that's him being butt fucked.
Yeah, she was like, "Look, we're just gonna take turns at it."
Yeah, exactly.
And he was like, "No,
I would do anything for love, but I won't do that."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what ends up happening is this couple is going to be drag racing.
So here's this first part, because this movie was called Dracula's Last Rites. I was expecting, a period piece, right? And when it was a couple of young hippies in drag racing, I was like, what the hell's going on? I was just Peter Dracula.
This is Drag Strip Dracula, in which I'm all in.
Drag Strip Dracula also sounds like a good movie.
Yes, but this couple, a kid with a teen stash, it's just give it up. You don't have a mustache, man. It's built up this crazy drag race that he's going to go on, and it's the most boring drag race.
But you're also kind of like, these characters are going to be important, right? Yeah. So they have a drag race, and this is one of those movies, we've talked about this a lot on this podcast. You watch the movie, and you notice that they are stretching it out, right? They're like, we just got to fit 90 minutes, right? So in this movie, they go in the drag race, and you think, well, obviously it's going to be a crash, and then Dracula's going to show up or something, right?
Or maybe one of them is a Dracula.
But no, they have one drag race. And then they're like, let's have another one.
Well, come on then. One more time. I'll whip your ass again. And no excuses this time. Stay on your side of the road and it will be no problem, man.
So that one is the crash. Why would we watch two boring drag races? And in the crash...
It's not even that dangerous either. They're just going down the street where no one's on, going a little bit fast.
So the one guy crashes, and then there's some kind of, 1950s style footage of the car being crashed, and it's like, this is what drag racing does.
And I would do anything for love. Oh, I would do anything for love. I would do anything for love. But I won't do that.
And then that's the last we ever see those people, apart from the sexy girlfriend who was in the crash.
Because she is taken to the hospital, where we find out that the
set of a hospital.
not a hospital, it's more a mortuary.
Yeah, mortuary.
And the morticians are all Draculas.
Yeah.
And what they do is they bite the dead person, I think.
Yeah. What happens is they're all, so there's a squad of Draculas, right? Yeah. And they all take turns on feeding, right? But they only get to feed on one corpse, one corpse per person, basically, right? And there's 4 Draculas, right? So this one guy was like, this one's mine, and they feed on it, and then because they know they create Draculas when you feed on someone, they immediately stake them. Now at that point it was kind of funny, because I thought, isn't that weird if you were a Dracula, right, that in your house or in your place of work, you would have a bunch of the one thing that could kill you on the wall. But then I realised, people in their houses have guns in their house all the time.
Knives. I'm holding a glass, I could smash it right over Matthew's head, and he would die.
We're constantly surrounded by the one thing that could kill us.
Yeah.
So I suppose for Draculas,
we have fists. I could put it right down your throat and watch you choke the way I've always wanted you to see.
That's a bit sexy, though, isn't it?
Okay. So this is a fun premise, I thought.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, at this part, I was like, oh, maybe this seemed kind of good, because obviously we get the young sexy lady, her top is off for some reason, and he's all like, because, vampires are, sexy, right? They're like...
But these vampires are not sexy.
No.
They're like a bald dude.
A middle-aged bald guy.
I think there's, a guy that looks like he's, a boxer of some kind.
Yeah, he looks like Jaws from...
James Bond?
From James Bond, if he was smaller. If he was smaller.
Yeah.
If during... Which James Bond is Jaws?
I don't remember. I thought you were going to say, you know that James Bond was the miniaturization
That's what I'm
ray?
saying, like, if in that movie, if James Bond, he'd be like, oh, I'd shot him with the shrink ray.
But it didn't even shrink to small. He just shrank to, like,
Normal
a few
size.
feet.
Yeah, he's like, no, you're normal size, Jaws. What are you going to do about that?
I'm a vampire now. Maybe that's what happened. This is a direct sequel to the James Bond films. Anyway.
Yes.
So what happens is we jump to new characters, and this is 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god. And these new characters, what are their names? The guy
I don't know,
and
it doesn't
girl.
matter.
That's it. Let it out. You'll feel better.
Here's what happens, right? The husband comes home, and the wife's mother is lying on the couch, all dead, Styles, and the doctor is there, and we already know that the doctor is a vampire, right? And he's like, I don't know, she just died while I was here.
She's at peace with herself. It all came very quickly. She never felt a thing. I was here by her side all the time. She went very peacefully and very quietly.
This thing with your mother-in-law? Weird.
In what way?
Well, you said she died at home, right?
She did.
That's what I mean. What's he doing with her? I don't know. Seems weird to me.
But then the wife comes back.
And she's like, no, I want my mother in our house.
Yeah, she's like, why don't we have the wake here? Because your mother loved this room, which is specifically the room. She just loved this room. She was always sitting in this room.
Summer nights after I was in bed, I could hear them laughing and talking all night long.
I wish I could have met him.
Oh, you would have gotten along beautifully.
That was to prove a point, Peg. A point that obviously wasn't taken too seriously.
He calls him and he's like, listen, we didn't want to send you the body in that. Can you send her back? You know?
I don't understand, like, have you ever heard this happening? That they're like, oh, give me the dead body back. We'll put it in a bed, I guess, somewhere in our house.
No, like basically what happens is you have like the wake and
I understand, but he wanted the body, like, that night.
Yeah, but I guess like don't they just like shove it in a coffin as soon as they get there or whatever?
But they're not gonna have that body's gonna start smelling. The reason that the mortuary takes the bodies away because they fill them with formaldehyde so they don't smell.
Yeah, which is ridiculous because like why bother? It's a dead body. You just stick it in the ground fast. You saw us having a look at a dead body. Have you ever had to do that, Justin?
Yes, well, my grandparents when they passed away.
I've never had to do it. I never want to do
You've
it.
never seen a dead body in your life.
No.
So no one close to you has ever died.
I mean, I keep digging up graves, right? But they're always like empty.
Skeletons.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're trying to kill vampires?
Yeah.
And you're like, no! The Draculas are all gone!
It's
So wait,
true.
you've never been to a funeral?
I've been to funerals, but you don't do that in the UK.
Oh, you don't look at the body?
You don't do open casket.
Oh, okay.
When
Would you prop them up? Like, would that be better if they were like in a high?
Well, we sit them in
pose?
like in Scotland, we sit them in like a throne, you know, made of the bones of English enemies, right?
giant haggis.
Yeah, and then okay, so here's what happens, right? Is that they want the body back.
And then they go to. They want the body back, so they go in the morning to the mortuary and they're like, we want our body back, and I guess they just give it to them.
Because I want to have it, that's why.
The guy doesn't want to, but then one of the underlings who's like helping with the vampires, I think he's also a vampire. He's like, you can't do that.
Wait just a moment. I'm sure Mr. Lucard will be back and will be able to explain everything to you.
I told Mr. Lucard I'd be here this morning for my mother-in-law's body.
Mr. Lucard did not say anything to me, sir.
I hired this man. I'm not going to wait around for Lucard. Tell me where Mrs. Bradley's body is.
Mrs. Bradley's body cannot be taken from here without Mr. Lucard's permission, sir.
I have to go through here room by room. I will.
Sir, you can't do that.
I will if I have to.
Sir, this is highly irregular. Mrs. Bradley is down the hall, sir.
You're also on thin ice.
So at this point, we can have our setup, right?
Yeah.
Which is that they have taken dead vampire granny back.
Which we assume is a killing machine of some sort.
And the baddie vampires have to get her back before she starts killing people, right? Because for some reason, because we know they've already sucked on dead
Why
granny's
didn't
neck,
they just
stake her straight away.
It would have been really funny if there was a scene where he sucks her blood and they're like, oh my god, Seinfeld is on, let's check it out. And they forget and they like go to bed and they saying, wait, is there something else that we had to do? And nah, we're good.
So we've got the setup here, and the thing was, at that point, I was like, an old lady vampire? Vampires are supposed to be sexy. Why isn't it a sexy lady vampire who's going around doing the murders?
Like
right?
the husband's wife or something like that.
Yeah. Like it's like, why would you suddenly make it about an old woman? Like it's like one of those things. Like you want to go back in time and ask the guy, obviously, who became a very intelligent, thoughtful screenwriter, writing things like Fly Me to the Moon, obviously better than Space Chimps, I assume, and be like, why are you making this decision?
He's like, I can't talk to you right now. I got this new movie. It's burning a hole in me. It's about flies and they go to the moon. I don't know what the title is yet.
No. I mean, if you talk to him now, he'd be like, I got this movie. It's about, like, a fish that's looking for his dad, or it's the sister of that... I don't know. So... They have the Dracula granny back, right? And so Alucard, he's like, what we gotta do is we gotta send some guys to get it back, right? So he sends one guy in.
Who's the worst guy to do this job? He's like, it feels like he slips on a banana peel, falls out a window, and he's like, I'm a Dracula, nothing can hurt me, except for this fence that I land on.
He straight up dies like Rebecca De Mornay.
Okay, so this guy gets killed, and the husband and wife are like, what is going on? Maybe it was a robber.
There's not much more I can do here.
Were you able to identify him?
No, probably just a drifter. My guess is he broke in for a radio or something easy to sell. You scared him and he panicked. But he's definitely not a pro.
But here's the thing.
You killed the man.
Our hero at no point is like, I can't believe I killed someone. He's just like someone died. He's like, whatever, I really don't care. It's nothing to do with me.
And he instantly assumes that it was someone that wanted the body back.
I said lie still. It'll be all right. I have to make a few calls. I don't know. I just have a strange feeling.
Why don't you just kill me?
So what happens is, the wife gets up the next morning, and as you do, she goes, I better check on my dead mother, make sure she's still lying in her coffin. She opens the coffin, and she's gone. Right? And then we enter into some of my favorite sequences of a Dracula doing Dracula stuff, which is basically our hero's, mother-in-law stumbles about in the dark, and she looks like everyone's favorite Wall of Sound producer, Phil Spector. It's basically you're just watching Phil Spector stumble about with vampire teeth, being like, you better record this properly. You know I've got this gun.
Do you think this is the director's commentary on struggling with his own grandmother's journey through dementia?
No, I don't. It might be his own difficulty in struggling with his own grandmother's endless need to impersonate Phil Spector? I'm not sure.
His grandmother looks so lost and confused with little vampire teeth. She's like, argh.
Yeah.
She doesn't even do anything. She kills one dude, and that's
He's
it.
like, where are the Ronettes? Or whatever.
You're really going for this Phil Spector.
I don't know. It just looks so much like Phil Spector, man.
So, complications arise.
The doctor comes over. In fact, there's a sequence where the wife can't get to sleep. So the husband's like, I'm going to call the doctor over and give you something to go to sleep.
And the doctor is like, I'm going to Dracula all over you.
He just Draculas her up to be a bit sexy. I mean, it's not that sexy, but I mean, like, you're just looking for anything to keep your attention at this point.
Yeah, so he just bites her neck.
He bites her neck. And
does this play into anything and she comes back? Nope.
Phil Spector considers eating a wee fat child. Remember that part?
I was so excited. I hope she was
There's a wee fat ginger kid. He's like, hello. And Phil Spector's like, and decides not to do it.
I thought she was gonna be a killing machine.
No, there is no killing machine. Phil Spector kills nobody, unlike in real life.
So what did these doctors think was gonna happen? Like, did they think they would find this new Phil Spector Dracula, and then the authorities were gonna be like, well, we better check out this mortuary, because they're probably Draculaing it up. It's also revealed that the sheriff is a Dracula too?
Yeah, I didn't realize that, because they're talking to the sheriff about how, like, they think the mortician did it, and he's like, I don't think there's nothing to do with it, and it turns out he's a... And the thing is, like, I've gone hammered home this point a little bit about how Draculas should be sexy, right? But this, this, like, cop, he's like a tubby cop who's bald and kind of useless, and it's like, if you have to live your whole... Imagine living eternity as that cop. Do you know what I mean? Like, Draculas in, like, True Blood and stuff, they're all, like, that sexy blonde, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. They're all, like, having, like, S&M parties in the basement of a bar or whatever, like, you're like, yeah, that sounds good for eternity, being, like, a sexy Dracula, but being a fat, schlubby cop for eternity who lives nowhere, eating old woman, do you don't want to do that?
This feels kind of like an adaptation of a 80s Stephen King short story.
Yeah.
That was forced out to 90-minute length.
Yeah. And the thing, it's like one of those things that make you realize that if you are a Dracula, don't live in the middle of nowhere, because then there's only so many people you can eat. You live in like New York City, and then you just like snack on prostitutes or something, right? Because then you never have to eat like an old lady or, you know, I don't know what. I mean, they clearly
really thought about Draculaing it out.
Yeah, clearly they only knew like 3 people. These Draculas, and they eat them all more or less. So
the husband finds out that he's gonna kill these Draculas.
One of the Draculas lifts the car.
Yeah, he MacGyvers it out.
He what?
At the end, he MacGyvers it up.
He MacGyvers it up?
Yeah, because what happens right at the end is the Draculas chase after him. And they find his car.
But wait, but we're missing.
Who cares?
No, we're missing when the mannequin gets thrown through a window.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's one point, I don't remember what happens, but like for some reason...
The husband hits one of the Draculas with his car.
Yes, he does. And he flies through a window, but he doesn't. They literally just throw a shop mannequin through a window.
And it's a shop mannequin.
Yeah,
like they made no effort for it to look like anything human.
So good. It's amazing. It's super funny. And then he MacGyvers his car, but he like puts like a bulb. I don't understand how it works. He puts a bulb.
He puts gasoline on the floor of his car, and then he puts a light bulb that's broken. So when he lights it makes a very small explosion.
A tiny explosion.
Which knocks both of the Draculas
basically
to the ground.
A mouse farts. And then 2 Draculas die.
No, and then he stakes them.
Oh, he stakes them,
and that's it. And then he walks away, and there's a title card that appears.
The best title card ever for this movie.
That says that the husband was convicted of 4 homicides. He was never able to convince anyone that they were Draculas.
Yeah, his wife was never found. And you're like, was this a true story? I don't understand.
It's a real Fargo.
Yeah, it's a real Fargo, yeah.
Dude, I can't wait for the, Kumiko, the Dracula hunter.
Yeah, did you remember the Japanese lady who wants to find Draculas?
Yeah, exactly.
She travels to New Jersey, and she's like, where's the cops?
They're all... She starts stabbing everyone.
Yeah.
Alright, Cannon Canon.
No.
I'm really excited, because this is the last kind of pickup movie we have to watch. So... Recommendations. Why
don't you start?
So I'm going to recommend a little movie called The Deadlands. It's a New Zealand film that came out a few years ago. It's a film about a tribe who gets completely massacred, except for one young boy. So this is kind of like, I don't want to say prehistoric, because I don't know what exactly. They're in like loincloths and stuff like that, and they're running through jungles. A tribe gets massacred, and the young boy is the only survivor. And he decides, I'm going to go take revenge on the people that murdered my family. So I have to go into these Deadlands and find this like hulking wrestler type dude who's supposed to be a monster and be invincible. And he's going to help me go and kill all these bad baddies who are racing through the jungle to get back home. And that's the entire movie. That's all it is. It has some great fights. It's nice and violent. There's kind of weapons you don't usually see, including these like ping pong paddle style things that they use to crush their enemies' skulls. Lots of fun martial arts sequences. And it's one of those pure kind of like no frills, get what you came for. It's just pure badassness.
And the bit at the end where the monster he lures him into like a hot pit of molten metal, and he gives a thumbs up right at the end. So emotional.
What? That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Oh, Terminator 2. I understand, but I was like, there's no robot or anything. It does end with a great scene where, you know, someone dies, and the other character is like, you did a good job. Like, you're going to go to the right place.
Thumbs up in the molten metal.
Thank you. What are you recommending, Matthew?
So, here in Toronto, after he died, they announced they were going to show his rare, hard-to-see film, Sign of the Times.
It's a concert film.
It's a concert movie.
The only way to see it legally is Prince himself released a DVD of it that, like all of the stuff he released himself, went out of print instantly.
Yeah.
It goes for like $500.
So they actually had a print, and they showed it at the Royal Cinema. And
don't worry, no one got up and danced, which is what Matthew was really worried about.
There was some white people clapping. You know, when
one person behind her didn't want to give it up. Even her friends weren't clapping, but she was like,
yeah, but also like, because you know, you go to something and people are like, somebody's like, come on, clap, and it's like,
yeah.
And you're like, that's not what like, how can you be so devoid of rhythm?
Just sit there silently with your hands at your side. All I want to hear is the blinks.
Yeah, you're like all at the same time. I love that sound.
So this concert film,
And, you know, comparison to, you know, watching Purple Rain or Under Treatment, you have to sit through interminable narrative points. There's a lot. This movie was also directed by Prince, and there are narrative moments. It's more or less a story, a concert movie, which is kind of also about how he really wants to fuck one of his backup dancers a lot, but she's shagging another guy maybe, and it's kind of confusing the narrative, but you're like, you don't really care because most of the movie is just Prince absolutely tearing it up. He's like incredible.
if you've ever wanted to see a man make love to a microphone stand, and at the same time treat it like a Chinese weapon, I think Sign of the Times is a movie to see.
He and his guitar work in this is like one of the things that we talked about a little before. Is like one of my favorite things is Prince's guitar work. He was an incredible guitarist, and you don't hear it a lot on his albums. He usually has his guitar songs, you know, and you hear them. This, every song, he's just like shredding on, more or less, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing. It's just a really, really enjoyable thing.
It's really actually well like shot and edited. A lot of work went into it, and the only big problem I can see people having with the movie is that most people won't recognize the songs that he's singing.
Well, I mean, they're all from Sign of the Times.
Yes.
And unless you really know that album inside out, like, there's a lot of album tracks, let's say, on it, which people are like, huh. The funniest part of the movie is the part where he, like, one of the big hits, You've Got the Look, they were like, let's just put the music video in, because he probably didn't, maybe he didn't do it at that, or it didn't fit the narrative when he did it at that show, so he goes backstage and goes to sleep and dreams the music video. So suddenly the film quality gets way worse, it's TV quality, like, and it's like, you're like, what's going on here? But for the most part, it's just like non-stop solid live versions of amazing songs, and it's kind of funny because the whole movie's like this plot where he wants to have sex with his backup dancer, but then that kind of plot ends, and then the final song is one of my favorite Prince songs, The Cross, which is like his kind of, it's like a grunge song, really. It sounds like sort of like Nirvana or something, way before Nirvana was a thing, and it's basically like, don't die without loving Jesus. That's the whole point of the song, and the whole movie's been all cuts to the crowd, they're all dancing and happy. He keeps cutting the crowd, and they're all like just standing there like, what's going on now exactly? I don't like, because it's such an amazing like heavy shredding song that you kind of, as I said to Justin at the time, you want to throw the devil horns, but that's the opposite of what he wants you to do.
There's someone in the crowd that's actually holding up their hands in the sign of the cross.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's an amazing experience, and if you have any chance to see that movie, you should totally watch it.
Yeah, go and see it. There was a lot of articles that kind of popped out writing about how amazing it is, and we're here to say that it is that amazing.
Because it's one of those things where I think that for a lot of people, maybe they don't know Prince, or they don't like, why do people like Prince, right? And you watch that movie, okay, ignoring the narrative parts, when you see him perform, if you can't appreciate him as a performer, you're like, that's crazy to me. Even if you don't like the music, you must be like, you must understand why what he's doing is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's all right up on the screen in Sign of the Times.
Yeah, it's
at its purest form. Because my name's Justin the Clue.
And I was MC Titty Privilege.
Alright, we're going to explain exactly why his name is MC Titty Privilege. Thank you for listening. Have yourself a week.